let's talk about the face of the gong. So the face of the gong, we have the very center part of the gong itself, and you have the rim, and different terrains of the gong itself. So the more center of the gong you go, you're going to create a more of a higher pitched tone, because that's more center. It's the sound is going to vibrate throughout the whole gong, from the center outwards. So you're going to create a much more higher tone. If you play the gong on the outside, you're still going to get a higher tone depending on what flume you use, but the outer rim of the gong itself, then you're going to create much more deeper, wider tone, because those tones are created on the actual outskirts, on the edge of the gong itself. It takes time for the gong to pick up in sound and vibration. If you're very sensitive to energies and you're sitting here with a gong, just one gong on you, it's better to start off that way when you're first introducing yourself to gong healing. If you were to buy a range of gongs, just try and stick with one gong for a while and familiar yourself with it. Have a relationship with the gong, because the whole gong itself, you can't see it vibrating, but at a molecular structure, it's vibrating a lot. So in order to play the gong, I love using flumies. This is my speciality. I don't like playing with the mallets as much. These are lovely to play with sometimes, and it's good to alternate, but I prefer playing with the flumies, Super Ball flumie mallets. Now it's kind of like any sport activity that you do, then you need to warm up to it. So you can't go straight into the gong itself. You need to warm it up. And now warming it up doesn't mean heating it. It means it's playing it in a certain way when the metals are starting to vibrate and build up. So you can do that by starting to use the actual mallet and then going straight into the flumie, which is when the vibration of the metal is starting to vibrate and it's rippling. And when you change the rippling of the gong itself, you create different tones and harmonics and frequencies. And this is where the beauty of the gong comes to play. Now with gongs, it's important to really look after them. So if you're not using it daily, cover it up with a blanket or a gong-like bag cover. If you're just using it for events, keep it in its bag. If you have it out, just make sure it's clean. It doesn't get exposed to moisture. You don't leave it outside. These are made from nickel silver, so the big percentage, so it's made of copper. So as you may know, with copper sort of metals, that if you leave it oxidized long enough in the air, then it might start to turn green, discolor. You don't want that to happen to your gong. And that only happens when you apply finger marks, when you apply water. So if you're thinking about having an actual gong bath and actually dipping your gongs in the bath, don't do that. Okay, there's some videos out there that they tell you to, you can play the gong, in the water and vibrate it, and you can vibrate the water. You can do what you like to your gong, but you want to keep your gong in a really good condition for its whole its lifetime. Now, when the gong comes to you, it may sound beautiful already, but it's also matures like an old cheese or an old wine. The longer you play it, the more life it has in it, the more of the energy from the gong player itself, the tones and frequencies from the gong is going to change, and it's going to sound beautiful. So at the moment, this gong is not even a month old from its birth, and this is my baby. I got it for my birthday in May 2017, and it was started to be made in production end of March, so it takes about 2 months to make this size gong. It goes through a process called tampering, which is a hot and cold process of hammering, like hanging for weight, for gravity, for letting it cool down. It goes into more hammering again for tuning and for the sound of the gong itself. So every gong that comes with this company, all the different gongs, the element gongs, so earth, air, fire, water, cosmo, dance, the dream gong, the water gong, the she moon gong, they all have different characteristics of how they are made. And those different shapes of striations, which are these marks going outwards, and the indentations of the hammer marks, they all create different tones because of the whole surface area of the gong. They create indentations in the terrain of the gong itself, which creates all these harmonics overtones, which are very beautiful. So why a gong? Why is a gong important? Now you have 36.1 trillion cells in your body that make up this whole physical meat suit. At a quantum level, at a molecular structure, all those cells, atoms are vibrating at a certain frequency to make you, your physical you. Now, there's a lot of space in between those cells at a very minute molecular structure. And within each cell, negative energy can be stored, like trauma can be stored in cells, toxins, you know, anything that's in there physically, mentally, spiritually, it's locked in your cells in an energetic level or a physical level. Now the gongs work on both the physical and the non-physical levels of consciousness. So on the physical level, they vibrate, you can feel resonance in your body. If and when you are next to a gong itself and the gong's played, you just put your hand there, you can feel resonance. It's very subtle. The louder and deeper you play it, you can feel a subtle resonance in the gong itself. And when that's played, the gong is played through you. The sound is vibrating in all different directions, affecting every cell in your body, just shaking you up. And I always explain it like a bowl of popcorn, you know. And we've all had popcorn before, gone to the cinema, and you've shaken the packet or the bowl, and all the debris has gone to the bottom, and all the bigger clumps of the popcorn is at the top. So it's a bit like how that works with your physical body. It's vibrating every single cell, it's vibrating particles and atoms and toxins, and it's releasing it to the bloodstream, any of those toxins, anything you don't need. So it's important to drink lots of water after you've had a session. As a gong player, you're going to create a beautiful relationship with the gong itself. You're going to create different tones, a harmony of harmonies, you know, acoustics. It's an orchestra of spirit. You don't need a license to play the gong. You just play it intuitively. Play it how you love to play it. Put your heart and soul into it, and just feel the gong itself. Feel the presence of the gong, because in Chinese, in the Chinese sort of understanding of elements, there's earth, air, there's fire, there's water, there's spirit, there's metal, and you know, metal is an element. It's an element which isn't quite known in you know, England and you know, America, but in Asia, you know, metal is a well-known sort of element which is like a consciousness, and anything that can have residual energy attached to it, so such as metal, the gongs, you can create a beautiful tone. It can create spirit, it can create life.